Well, with another week comes another great episode of The Mandalorian, with the Mandalorian and the child, aka Baby Yoda, on the run from the enemies they've made from the previous chapter. Chapter 4, entitled Sanctuary, is right up there with the previous Chapter 3, which I thought was excellent, but for different reasons, as this week's episode provided us with a few interesting details surrounding the Mandalorian himself. We'll break it all down here, and I'll provide a few of my thoughts along the way, but just a reminder, there will be spoilers from this point forward, so please proceed with caution if you're still planning on watching Chapter 4. Chapter 4 opens up with a small farm peacefully going about its day, but the tranquility is interrupted abruptly when a loud noise is heard coming from the tree line. Appearing as though the farmers have experienced this before, they begin to run from the ponds as blaster fire rains upon them, and raiders emerge to attack the farm. We see a woman named Omera and her daughter Winta seek refuge, hiding within a pond as the raiders pillage the entire farm and their harvest. As the raiders disappear after a successful raid, Omera and Winta emerge to find their farm has been decimated by the attack. Switching focus, we then see the Mandalorian and the child on board the Razor Quest, and having made enemies of both the Imperial Remnant and the Bounty Hunters Guild in Chapter 3, the Mandalorian begins looking for a planet they could hide out on for a while. It's a light scene after the attack on the farm, again showing the child's fascination with pushing any button he can get his fingers on. Eventually, the Mandalorian decides on the planet Sorgan. With no starport, industrial centers, or significant population density, it's perfect for them to use as a sanctuary, or so it seems. After landing on Sorgan, they realize that they're in need of lodging, forcing the Mandalorian and the child into a nearby town, and more specifically, a cantina, to see what the planet has to offer. It's here where we're introduced to Gina Carano's character, Cara Dune, a former rebellion shock trooper. It doesn't take long for the Mandalorian and Cara to notice each other, and as the former attempts to acquire more information about the shock trooper, she was able to sneak past him, causing the Mandalorian to go looking for her as the child is left with his meal. As the Mandalorian was searching the town, he quickly found Cara when she was able to get the drop on him, igniting a fistfight between the two. They eventually end up in a draw as they both have their blasters drawn on each other, ending the fight as they notice the child watching them curiously. Calling a truce, they go back inside and we get to learn our first important details about Cara Dune. She explains that she saw most of her action after the Battle of Endor with the rebellion, hunting down ex-Imperial warlords. This is something I would love the show to go into more, as the post-Battle of Jakku period, looking at these ex-Imperial warlords could be really interesting. I just hope that there's time for something like that. But as Cara continues, we learn that once the fighting stopped, she was forced into a role simply as a peacekeeper, protecting New Republic delegates, or what she regarded as a job she didn't sign up for. While she doesn't go into exactly how she ended up on Sorgan, she did simply reveal that she took an early retirement. However, the real point is made. The Mandalorian recognizes that since Cara was hiding there first, he and the child had to move on, as Sorgan had already been taken. We see that that's exactly what the Mandalorian planned to do, going back to the Razor Crest to prepare to leave. However, he's then approached by two of the farmers from the opening scene with an offer. In exchange for credits, he would help protect their farm against the raiders. At first, he declines, concluding it's not enough credits for a job like that. But the Mandalorian becomes interested when learning that the farm was in the middle of nowhere, offering exactly the type of lodging he needed. Agreeing to help to obtain access to the farm, the Mandalorian then recruits Cara to join them with the credits, which she agrees to, given that she could also benefit from upgrading her living arrangements. The three of them are immediately welcomed by the farmers, with the children instantly taking a liking to the child. The Mandalorian then meets Omera and her daughter, who were seen earlier, and as they bring him food, we get an excellent scene between her and the Mandalorian, as she asks him how long it's been since he's taken off his helmet. We learn that while he removes it often when alone, he hadn't removed it in front of anyone else since he was a child, not showing his face to anyone for years. The reason for this was found in his joining the Mandalorians. When his parents were killed, which we've seen in flashback scenes in the previous chapters, he was thankful that the Mandalorians had taken him in. Then, echoing what we've seen the Mandalorian's tribe say in previous chapters, keeping his helmet on in front of others was simply the way. We then see Cara and the Mandalorian investigating the trees in which the raiders attacked from earlier, finding not just that they had significant numbers, but also an Imperial AT-ST, vastly increasing their threat. Having gone back to the farmers, the Mandalorian bluntly told them that the AT-ST meant one thing: they had to leave. Trying to be more sympathetic, Kara attempted to explain the danger of the ATST, having seen it take out companies of rebel soldiers firsthand. But the farmers had nowhere else to go, and after making it clear that they weren't leaving, fighting was the only option, so the Mandalorian and Kara would show them how. They first developed their plan for the ATST. They would dig down into one of the ponds deep enough so that after funneling the walker towards it, it would fall in, which would then allow them to take it out. To deal with the raiders, the Mandalorian and Kara taught the farmers how to fight in close combat situations and how to shoot, a difficult task as only Omera had shooting experience. After a montage showing the farmers being trained by their new guests, they were ready to provoke an attack and put their plan into action. The Mandalorian and the former rebel made their way to a small encampment of the bandits, taking out those present and destroying the camp after a quick skirmish, which as they planned, caused the entire group of raiders to again attack the farm, led by the ATST. With Kara and the Mandalorian running back to the farm, they joined the others in their prepared fortifications and waited for the attack to begin. As the ATST emerged, it at first appeared the plan would work perfectly as the vehicle rushed towards the prepared pond. Unfortunately for the farmers, it stopped only a single step short and began looking for targets within the farm. As the raiders emerged to begin their attack, the farmers opened fire upon them, using their new training to take out a number of them. But they were desperate to get the ATST disabled. It's then that Kara had a plan. Taking the Mandalorian's pulse rifle, she raced towards the ATST and entered the pond just in front of it. As the farmers and raiders attacked each other in hand-to-hand combat, Kara was finally able to get the ATST to take the bait, stepping forward and plunging into the trap. After the ATST fell forward, the Mandalorian was able to race towards it to finish it off with a thermal detonator, successfully destroying it and causing the raiders to retreat as the farmers celebrated their victory. After weeks of peace on the farm, the Mandalorian had to make a tough decision. As much as he would love to stay, he knew the battle raised too much attention, and it would only be a matter of time before he and the child were located, placing the farmers in danger. However, he decided he would leave the child there, as traveling with the Mandalorian was no life for someone so young. But little did the Mandalorian know, a bounty hunter was walking through the trees towards them, with a bounty hunting fob clearly tracking its targets within the farm. The Mandalorian then broke the news to Omera. As nice as it was there, and although they wanted him to stay, as Omera attempted to remove his helmet only to be stopped, the Mandalorian informed her that he didn't belong there, but the child did. She understood, and she promised to look after him. We then see the bounty hunter place its sights on the child, appearing as though this could be the end of Baby Yoda. But while we hear the sound of a blaster going off, it's revealed that Kara found the bounty hunter first, firing her blaster and killing the bounty hunter instantly. As they realized that the guild wasn't merely tracking the child, but was able to locate him even on a planet like Sorgan, the Mandalorian knew he wouldn't be safe there, and therefore he had to change the original plan. The child had to stay with him. With that, the Mandalorian and the child said their goodbyes to Kara and the farmers, and journeyed back to the Razor Crest to find a new location that could act as a sanctuary from their enemies. This was a great episode that I thought introduced a few new characters extremely well, and more importantly, gave us some more insight into the lore and backstory of the Mandalorian, a character that I'm liking more and more as this first season progresses. While there were certainly examples of his devotion to the Mandalorians in the first 3 chapters, this episode brought it to another level by showing his commitment to the Way, the practices and traditions of the Mandalorians he's allied with. I thought the eventual removal of the Mandalorian's helmet would be an important scene in this series, but now it means even more, and I'm not sure it'll happen by the end of Season 1. I really like the fact that the Mandalorian began as what I believe Foundlings refers to, which is not a member of an established clan, and I can't wait to see how the Mandalorian attempts to rebuild the Mandalorians going forward. At the same time, the development here for our main character was great. For as much as I know he's committed to a greater journey for the Mandalorians, he did get a glimpse of what a simpler life would be like, so we'll see if that tension arises again later. At the very least, I hope we haven't seen the last of the characters introduced in Chapter 4, as it feels like there's more to be told through Cara Dune and the farmers of Sorgan. But those are just my thoughts on Chapter 4 of The Mandalorian. We're halfway through the season already, so I'd love to hear what you think of the series so far, and specifically Chapter 4, whether it be what you enjoyed most or what you wanted to see more of. Thank you very much for watching, everyone, and as always, may the Force be with you.